Hey guys, Sak here from sakitech, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra after almost 1 week of use. We're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now these are my impressions, so probably I will miss some things that you guys might care about, or I might mention something that you don't care about. These are just the standout features that have impressed me so far. So let's dive in and get started right away. Now, before we dive in, if you decide to buy the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, make sure to use the exclusive links down below. They're gonna get you some powerful benefits. You're gonna get up to $350 in instant Samsung credit instead of the $300 everybody else is getting. Use these credits to get free double storage, or if you want, free Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. And of course, you can get up to $900 in trade-in credits. With these deals, you can get the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra for as low as $400. So links are going to be down below. Let's move on. Now, number one, it's going to be that gorgeous display. It is definitely improved over the S24 Ultra. In fact, this display is so good, I believe this is going to be the display to beat this year. Now, I talked about this before, but when you go to your settings, in display settings, and you turn on QHD+, as soon as you turn on QHD+, it activates a feature that you don't see, which is known as the Pro Scaler. This is an upscaling technology that Samsung has added to the phone from their high-definition TVs. They make some of the best high-definition TVs. So some of that technology transfers into these displays on their smartphones, and you can tell. I mean, I looked at this phone side by side with the iPhone, with the S24 Ultra, and in every case, it just looks sharper when you have it in QHD resolution with the Pro Scaler enabled. The colors do look more vibrant. The videos do look more sharp. Now, this sharpness and clarity also appears on photos as you're browsing the web. So it's a system-wide application of better display. So that's one thing that I'm really impressed with. Again, that display is what you look at all day when you use your phone. You don't look at the back of your phone, you look at the front, you look at the display. So the better the display, the better the user satisfaction. Now, one more thing that I didn't hear anybody mention is the speakers. Something happened to the speakers. So this phone has stereo speakers, S24 has stereo speakers, S23 has stereo speakers. They all have stereo speakers. But when I compare the S24 to the S25, there's an increase in the quality of the sound that comes out of the speakers. Now here's the funny part. The S24 Ultra is actually louder, but the sound is more harsh. The S25 Ultra, the speakers are slightly quieter, but the sound is more refined. Let me give you a very simple sample, even though it's very hard to convey this through the speakers and the microphones and all the processing. You do have to listen to this in person, but let's take a look at an example anyway. All right, so the S24, S25, let's check the volume. You can see for media, it's maximized on both. I'm gonna go back, and then the next thing I'm gonna do is I am going to go down to sound quality and make sure Dolby Atmos is enabled on both. You can see it is music, all right? And finally, the equalizer is the same. It's in balanced mode. So now let's go back over here and let's first play the S24 for 20-25 seconds. All right, now I'm going to play the same song here, S25. Pause. Now I'm going to tell you guys, now that I ran the test again, I actually felt the S25 was louder. Maybe earlier I made a mistake, but with all the parameters the same, S25 is louder and richer, meaning the sound is more refined. So this is also quieter and the sound quality is more harsh. So big improvement in the speakers, no question. Notice how the speaker grill on the S25, which is on the top, is slightly bigger at the bottom than the S24 Ultra. So that's it, let's move on. Now let's move on and talk about the performance. We have this brand new Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. We know that the processing performance is already almost 37% faster, which is insane already. But I do want to show you something very specific with the graphics. Let me show you some benchmarks after running some intensive stress tests on the smartphone and compare the results to the S24 Ultra. So let's go to the table, look at that real quick. All right, so we already looked at the processor. The processor, you can see, is much faster. It's 30-40% faster than the S24 Ultra. But let's look at something even more extreme. So here I have a graphical benchmarking test, 3D Mark. And this is the wildlife test. This is a highly demanding test that runs at 1440p. Now what I did was, I didn't run this test. I ran the wildlife extreme stress test. So that takes the wildlife and runs it for 20 minutes in a row, pushing the phone to its limits. And just so you guys understand what that test is all about, this is what it looks like. It's a very, very demanding graphical test. And this is going to be running for 20 minutes, okay? Just so you see what's going on. So let's compare the results, okay? So I'm going to go to my results on both. And here we have the results. So that's the wildlife stress test for 20 minutes, January 26, January 26. 18,000 is the best loop score. 23,000 is the best loop score. The lowest score we got after 20 minutes passed was 8,500, but the lowest score on this was 12,000. You can see stability-wise, this was more stable, 52% stable, 47% stable, and we have the best loop scores. Now when I tap on them, okay, you get some details, and here's the stress test chart. So the first loop was 18,000, the second loop dropped to 16,000, then it went to 14,000, and then it kept going and going and going. On the 20th run of the test, we were down to 8,694 on the S24 Ultra. With this one, it was a little bit more stable. We had 23, 20, 18. It kept going down and down and down, which is normal, by the way. And at the end, we are at 12,633. That is a huge difference. After 20 minutes, this phone is performing much better than that phone. That's not a joke. And if I go down over here, there's a couple more numbers. The frames per second on this one, the lowest dropped to 31, the highest went to 129. Here, the lowest was 43 for an extremely demanding benchmark, and the highest was 176. In 20 minutes of this test, on this one, the battery went down by 13%. On this, the battery went down by 14%. So all these numbers are, in fact, favoring the S25 Ultra, which is expected, but the degree in which it's better is quite astounding, okay? So that's why I'm really impressed. Now, the next thing I want to talk about has to do with the Gemini AI. So when you press and hold the power button, the Gemini AI comes up. It's called the Galaxy AI, and it's able to use Gemini and Bixby, so it's unified. So it can do all the Gemini tasks and it can do all the Bixby tasks. But I like the fact that when I press that button, I get one Galaxy AI. I don't have to decide to use Bixby or Google Assistant or Gemini. It's just Galaxy AI, and it decides what to use for you based on your query. And I can do some really cool things. Let me give you a quick example. This is just one example, but I just want you guys to get an idea. All right, so when I press and hold this button, Galaxy AI shows up. Let me show you the quick interface. And then you can start talking to it. And as you can see, it is listening to me. You can see it's very accurate, by the way, by recognizing what I'm saying to it. So I'm going to cancel that. Let me show you an amazing example, okay, of how I would be using something like this. So let's say I'm thinking of going to the gun range tomorrow to practice shooting, but I've never been there before. Can you give me some safety rules for the gun range?
Gun range safety rules. The 4 universal safety rules. Treat every firearm as if it were...
So it gave me a full summary. Of course, I know all this stuff, but just to give you an example. So it gave me all this useful information. It pulled from the internet. But look at this. I can continue having the conversation. By the way, since it's my first time going there, can you also tell me what I should take with me to the gun range to be fully prepared?
Here's a list of essential items to bring to...
Pause. And you can see it's telling me exactly what I should take with me to the gun range. So all this stuff normally would take me hours to research. But here it is, fully summarized. And that's not everything. Look at this. Let's say I'm busy right now, but I like this information. Here's what I can do. Take all the information you gave me, summarize it, and save it to my Samsung Notes.
Sure, saved as a note.
Okay, so it took all that information and even summarized it, and now it is saved into my Notes application. So if I go to my Notes application, let's say I was busy, it is going to be right here. So look at this. This was my first request, gun safety rules. It's all here, summarized. But then it also gave me the second request that I made, and that was what to bring to the gun range. So it put that in here as well, okay? So now I can just reference this. Again, normally it would take me hours to research and summarize. It just does it for me. And it also saves it into my Samsung system. There's so much more, but I just want to give you a quick idea of what appeals to me. Now, one more thing I want to be talking about is the camera itself actually has improved all over. Even though the main sensor, the 200 megapixel sensor, is the same as before, the camera, because it's got that new chip, it's got more image processing prowess, so it is able to produce much better images based on algorithms that they have set up. But I'm actually very happy with the wide-angle camera's upgrade. It went from 12 to 50 megapixels. So now it takes much clearer, much detailed, much richer photos. Let me show you a quick example so you see what I'm talking about. There is a difference, big difference in the wide-angle camera particularly. All right, so here we have both of these phones. I'm going to put an item over here to take a photo out of. So let's launch the camera, S25, S24. First, I'm going to take a photo of this. Let's do widescreen angle. That's the 12 megapixel camera. You can see we are in 12 megapixels. That's the highest I can go in this one. So I'm going to take a photo. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's just bring this over here. Let's do wide angle. All right. Now with this one, I can go to 50. So I'm going to go right there. So we have wide angle 50. Take a photo. Okay. So now I'm going to bring these photos in. Let's turn off the motion photo here. Okay. Now look. Zoom in and zoom in. Look at the difference in detail. This is even more brighter. Plus this is 50 megapixel. And again, if I zoom in a little bit more, let's do this. That's the maximum zoom I can do. This one I can zoom even further because it's a larger file. So you can see the difference. If I zoom this up a little bit, that text would become very grainy. Alrighty? Simple example, but gets the point across. Now let's talk about some of the ugly stuff. So you probably heard about this already, but it's the S Pen situation. The phone still has the S Pen, but the Bluetooth component of the S Pen that allowed you to remotely control your phone with your S Pen is gone. So people were using this feature to use the S Pen button as a shutter button to maybe activate the camera, or if you were given a presentation, you could use the S Pen button to go next, previous. So you can even do a presentation. And the other thing that I like personally was the fact that you can play and pause music with the S Pen. Now that feature is gone and I'm not happy about it, but there has been some over-exaggeration, as if it's the end of the world. It's not. So let's put that into perspective. But first, I just want to clarify, I am not happy that it's gone. I wish it was there. I love that feature. But it is gone, and I want to put the feature itself in perspective in comparison with the totality of the phone. So that feature probably makes 1% of the total phone. The S Pen probably makes 5% of the phone. And then under S Pen, you have the Bluetooth feature that makes 1% of the phone. But then you have the remaining 99% of the phone That is simply an improvement over the S24 Ultra. This is not in any way a downgrade over the S24 Ultra just because it lost one little feature in the grand scheme of things. Now, personally, I'm going to miss that feature. But Samsung also said maybe just 1% of people were using that feature, and that's why they took it out, because of its low use case. So unfortunately for that 1%, which includes me, it's bad news. But the remainder of the phone, which is 99% of the phone, this phone is a better phone than the S24 Ultra in many ways. Processor, camera, battery life is better, the speakers are better, it's got a better display and all that good stuff, okay? So that's basically what I want to talk about in this video. Those are my first impressions, what stood out for me in the first week of use or so. But that's about it for now. And again, if you are thinking of picking up this phone right now with the pre-order deals, it is absolutely insane the kind of pricing you can get. For example, if you trade in your old phone, you can get this one for as low as $400. Plus, you will get free stuff like Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. So links for that is down below if you're interested. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them down below as well. For now, guys, have a fantastic day.